When we're solving an equation that has a fraction in it, we can simplify the process using a very basic method of multiplying each term by the least common denominator and reducing first. The nice part about this trick is it's going to change any problem with fractions to a problem that has no fractions in it at all, until maybe the last step. Let's take a look at some examples of what I mean by this. Let's start with 5/6 x minus 1/3 equals 7/2. Now, we could work with the fractions, but that's going to be a little bit of a pain doing common denominators and multiplying by reciprocals and all that. Instead, what I want to notice is looking at 6, 3, and 2, the least common denominator of those three fractions is 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply each term by 6. But before I actually do that multiplying, I'm going to reduce, because 6 over 6 reduces to 1. 6 over 3 reduces to 2, and 6 over 2 reduces to 3. What's left is 1 times 5x, which is 5x, minus 2 times 1, which is 2, equals 3 times 7, which is 21. This gives me an equation with no fractions that I can solve quickly, balancing on the equal sign, moving things away from the x, starting with the two negatives, need two positives to make 0 pairs, leaving behind 5x equals 23. And then finally, to get the x alone, we divide both sides by 5. And we find out that x represents the fraction 23/5, and we have our solution. Let's do another example. Let's try 3/8 x plus 3/4 equals -5 plus 7/2 x. On this problem, you might notice that that -5 is not a fraction, but we can make it a fraction by putting it over 1. And then when I look for the least common denominator for 8, 4, 1, and 2, all of those numbers go into 8. So I'm going to multiply all of those fractions, including the -5, by 8. But before we multiply, we're going to reduce first. 8 over 8 is 1. 8 over 4 is 2. 8 over 1 is 8. And 8 over 2 is 4. That leaves me with 1 times 3x is 3x, plus 2 times 3 is 6, equals 8 times -5 is -40, plus 4 times 7 is 28x. And now that's going to give me an equation with no fractions that we know how to solve. X's are on both sides, so we're going to move the smaller one by subtracting 3x from both sides. That leaves behind 6 equals -40 plus 25x. With the x now on the right side, we want to move things away from the right. To get rid of those 40 negatives, we need 40 positives. So we have 46 equals 25x. And finally, 25x's divided into 25 groups. X is equal to the fraction 46 over 25. Let's try one last example. Let's do y over 2 plus y over 3 equals 5 over 8 plus y. Again, I can put that y over 1, and I see my denominators are 2, 3, and 8. Our least common denominator, what those all multiply into, is going to be 24. So we'll multiply each term by 24, including just the y. Reducing, 24 over 2 is 12. 24 over 3 is 8. 24 over 8 is 3. And 24 over 1 is 24. So we have 12y plus 8y equals 15 plus 24y. Well, we have a little more simplifying we can do to combine like terms on the left side. Gives us 20y equals 15 plus 24y. Balancing on the equal sign, I like to move the smaller one. The smaller one is the 20y's. So with 20y negative, to make the 0 pairs, nothing's left on the left side. That means we have a 0 equals 15 plus 4y. Move the 15 away because it's 15 positives with 15 negatives. So negative 15 equals 4y. And finally, divide both sides by 4 to get our final answer for y, as I'm running out of space. But we have negative 15/4, the fraction, equals y. So if there's fractions in the problem, we can clear the fractions to make it easier to work with by multiplying by that least common denominator. It's your turn to practice some of these. Let your instructor know if you have any questions.